Yeah. Yeah. So I called because I got up this morning and I tried to meditate, and I didn't like get, is that even an English saying? Didn't get out of bed with the right foot, um, on the right foot. So I still feel a bit like, I don't know, not super great. I tried to get myself out of that, but I somehow can manage to feel a bit better. I try to brighten my mind, but then it's goes down again. I try to, like, the first step of the sota
And
knowledge.
what kind of breathing are you doing?
Um, didn't really pay attention to the whole time. I tried to breathe this
Okay.
once, um, and that got me more activated somehow. But I also kind of slipped back again, or I didn't know how to stabilize that then. I'm not sure what, yeah. Yeah, so that was my main question, how to get myself out of that, basically, now and in the future.
Well, the first thing that we have to look at is what is it that we're talking about? Get yourself out of that. So all we've got is the word that right now.
Yeah. Um, like I have a
Do
slight,
you have it right now?
yeah, like I feel a bit weak and have a slight headache, and like my head is being pushed in a bit from the sides. Uh,
Okay.
I'm a bit like grumpy.
All right. Well, now we're getting a little bit closer to it because, see, all of these other things are just sensations of the body. And sometimes those sensations of the body will manifest themselves in such a way so that the feelings arise that we don't like it. And you're talking about being grumpy. Tell me more what you mean by that.
um, yeah, well, one thing is that I don't have a lot. I just have some porridge here to eat for breakfast, and really don't. Yeah, like shops aren't open, so I'm not.
So you're grumpy because you didn't go shopping. Is that what you're saying?
Well, one that may play one part. Yeah, that I'm just not stocked at all, and now I don't have anything to eat for breakfast.
All right.
Uh,
Well,
yeah.
now we're working with the four requisites.
Hmm.
Adequate food. It's funny though, instead of going shopping, you called me.
Well, shops aren't open yet, in my defense. Yeah, but I'm not sure to how big that is really the reason for it. I just feel like I woke up kind of hungover. Not that I drank yesterday or anything, but
And so, what did you start doing? Basically, I would say that the first thing that you would want to do when you would wake up in the morning, the very first thing, many people, the first thing will be that they will take the covers off. Some people will have, never mind, I don't have to get up now. When you wake up early, you don't have to get up, or you can wake up and enjoy the morning for a little while. But in this regard, what we're talking about is the very first thing that you would want to do when you wake up in the morning is start doing some breathing.
Okay.
Now,
While
not
still in bed.
necessarily the very fast breathing of panting, that in fact there's another way of doing deep breathing that would be more associated with what you would think of as anpanasati than panting. And that would be to breathe in a sense like this. Just watch me breathe for a little while, and I'll use exaggerated movement so that you can see what I'm doing. Right now, I'm still talking and not breathing at all, or actually on an out breath as I continue to breathe. So now I'm going to take an in breath. Now, in that in breath, I'm going to fill up the whole thing. And on the out breath, I'm going to relax. And you should be able to feel the difference already within one of those deep breaths. I guess I've gotten used to talking about students doing one breath because that's all it kind of takes me, because I'm used to it. So let's say that it'll take you 3 or 4. They say as many as 10. But the important thing is to let the breath help you wake up, to get the body going. Yeah, like that. And then, and then you take another one. Now, that would what we would call step 1 of anpanasati. It's the thing that I tell every student over and over again, but I guess I've got to demonstrate it rather than just talk about it. So you got to start doing that. And I would recommend that you start making sure that when you go to sleep at night, that you do so in the following way. The first part of it is that you're going to, rather than try to go to sleep, rather thinking of it, I've got no place to go and nothing to do, and I can lay here and just enjoy the night, and I can snuggle and cuddle, all right, and you get yourself very comfortable, like that. And for sure you'll fall asleep like that. But if you're worried about what's happening tomorrow, then the mind will churn on and on. And a good thing would do is if you start to churn, if you start thinking about something, then the right thing to do is to say, no, I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to enjoy just sleeping. I'm going to enjoy just being here doing nothing. Don't have to think about anything. So that's the way that you would go to sleep. And the waking up in the morning, the first thing you want to do is start taking some deep anapanasati, pranayama, yoga breathing. Not all the way up to the scale of panting, but up to the deep breathing, maybe as many as 10. If you're breathing deeply, each breath is going to take 10 seconds or more. So we're talking about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. And this is the first thing you do. Don't think about anything. You don't even have to think about, I got to get out of bed. Just think about, oh, what a beautiful moment this is. This is a really nice moment. You see, you're really a lot in the habit of having work to do, having plans to do.
Yeah. Like, I think also one thing that is this morning is I'm quite free. I'm gonna meet one person later on for an hour or two, but I'm also looking ahead of the day and I'm not sure how to fill it up somehow. Like,
Don't. That's the whole point. We're learning to empty stuff. Where's this filling up?
I usually get really uncomfortable if I'm not doing anything, and then
I
mm,
know that's what this is all about.
so yeah.
That's what all of this is about. That you and I've known that, and we've talked about it before. It's all about, you just said it, getting uncomfortable when you don't have anything to do.
Yeah.
That is a classical definition of anxiety.
Hmm.
That's exactly what we
Okay.
that's why we stay busy, because we have the delusion that our busyness is going to solve the problem of anxiety, where merely it just momentarily distracts us from it.
Yeah.
And when you get back into doing nothing, there it is again, the anxiety. And your whole life you've been spending doing something to get rid of that anxiety. Eric Berne knew all about this, and so did the Buddha.
Hmm. So yeah, somehow I can't wrap my head around how to deal with it then. So one way,
No, that's the
yeah,
whole point. Again, you're wanting to deal with it. Stop dealing. Rather, if there's any dealing with to be done, it's to do it through the situation of investigation. Just look at it. Get to know it very well.
hmm, how how do I do that exactly right now?
Well, if you've got that anxiety right now, then take a look at it. One of the ways of looking at it and one of the ways of dealing with it is with the breath. Why is that? Because most of the time, the areas of the body that's affected by anxiety is the very area of the body that would be called the breath body. So by playing with the breath, you're going to play with the part of the body that the anxiety is going to be in. Rustle it up, move it around, check it out. If it's in the chest, and you could breathe deep into it as if you were just expanding it or breaking it up. Just one good deep breath is enough to bust up anxiety if you've done it often enough.
Yeah, I guess that gets to the point of trusting that you can really do that with one breath.
You don't have to trust it as one breath. You just enjoy the breath, and you enjoy just getting rid of the anxiety simply because you can see it so clearly. You see, that's when I say see it so clearly. Let's say that, well, let's talk about it in the sense of a camera. If the camera is distant from the object, then it's going to look small. But as the camera gets closer to the object tends to look like it's growing. So when I'm talking about clearly seeing the anxiety, it's because we're getting really close to it and taking a good close look. Now, that's completely counterintuitive, because the way that we would normally want to do it is to get away from it, to ignore it, while we're at the same time doing stuff that we hope to get rid of it.
Yeah. So the
All
point
right.
where I get into this sort of meta anxiety is that now one worry of mine is that I may, if I don't think ahead, then I will fall into the trap soon of avoiding the anxiety and distract myself again. Uh,
Right. But
so,
we already know that that's just an old game that you're playing, because right now your new intention, your new right view is to really take a good close look at it.
hmm,
Now, there's a secondary thing which we will have to eventually deal with, and I'll just note it now and we'll talk about it when it comes up. There will come a time when you say, oh no, wait a minute, I need that anxiety, because if I don't do it by being driven by anxiety, I won't do anything at all. Yeah, we want to get to that state, don't we? Why is that? Well, among other things, that means that at least at some level of humanity, we do need a little bit of anxiety. It's a mechanism that has a function. But what happens with the human beings being all way over feeling, I don't know why that is with humans. Most animals do everything they can to think with whatever mechanism they've got up there to think. And here we humans got this huge, humongous computer to think with. And then we starve it for oxygen and we wind up living in our deepest reptilian feeling brain instead. Why we do this, I don't know. And all you need to do is to start to breathe. Now, when you recognize that that anxiety that you have is nothing but a set of chemicals that are given off that are inappropriate. They're not appropriate chemicals. The reason we can feel anxiety in the chest is because it's coming from a set of chemicals that are being given off by the reptilian brain that are inappropriate for this moment, for this situation. Now, in the situation 100,000 years ago, we hear a rustle in the leaves. It's time to get up and do something about it. That's anxiety producing. We need to take a look at that, or even better still, let's not look at it. Let's run away from it instead. That's the safest thing to do, okay? We don't, even though we developed a brain that works that way, our lives are not like that anymore. And so we live in a state of fear, tension, and anxiety in a state or an environment that's free from those things. If the environment was dangerous, we would really need all of that. But it's not dangerous. Most of life is not dangerous at all. So why do we keep having all of these chemicals running around in the body that are secreted because of danger? Cortisone, adrenaline, all of that stuff kind of leaks out low grade, and the reason for it is based in these are chemicals that are given off that are associated with freeze, flight, or fright. And here we are freezing, but we don't flight and we don't fight. And so we're left with all of these chemicals that we're not dealing with. This would be the way to look at it in the intellectual way. So once you understand intellectually that these are just merely chemicals that are being given off, partly because of the self-preservation instinct. It's instinctual. We have an instinctual nature that is basically dedicated to sussing out danger, making us afraid, getting us ready for battle, or getting ready to flight. And that's the mechanism, and it is deeply buried right down into our DNA. And here it is in operation in a society we don't need it in.
So these chemicals color, for example, yeah, my perception right now of everything. Then the frontal cortex part to take over would be to realize that this is inappropriate. Supported maybe with a breath to have also some physical calmness to give it some to be able to believe that that rational part.
Hey, I don't have to do this to myself is one of the things that you can say. Or like that, recognizing, hey, it's really actually not appropriate for me to be full of anxiety, for me to feel like I've got to go do something. When in fact, You can sit here and enjoy the moment. And the sitting here and enjoying the moment is a different set of chemicals. This is one that's got dopamine and serotonin. In fact, that's the way it goes. It is a huge flash of dopamine, the win. Aha, I can do this. Followed by serotonin. Oh, this is so nice. And that's also associated with the breathing. That in breath is the dopamine. And the serotonin is and they're right there in the suttas. The Buddha knew all about this. And this is why the anpanasati with the breathing is so integral related to the Vedana, or the feelings of having that piti, having that good feel, the win, and then having that serotonin, or having that pleasure, having that, oh, I really like this. Okay. Now, here's the thing that's really interesting. Now that we've got the breathing going, now that we've gotten the mind in a state of relaxation and a state of pleasure, we would like to keep that. You've got the brain energized also with this breathing, so that now, according to Bhikkhu Buddhadasi, likes the phrase, the mind is fit for work. And what is it fit for work for? Well, one of the things it's fit for work on is to be on guard, to begin to investigate, for instance, anxiety. When it comes up now in this state, now we can get really close to it. Why? Because we're already in a state of pleasure, and anxiety is now not going to pull us out of pleasure. It's not strong enough, especially when we've already got the winner's attitude that I can do this.
Hey, sorry, it's a bit of a digression, but I just realized that when I don't look so much to the future, I've identified so much with that person I'm going to be in the future, and this thinking process, this feeling of it, and I feel a bit and I feel a bit less like myself when I'm in, or like a self when I'm in this
less like myself. Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel different than I did, that I've been feeling.
Yeah,
now we're going in the direction of no self.
Yeah, so I'm going into that, and immediately I start grasping after, oh, but what afterwards? What afterwards?
Exactly. That grasping then is actually part of the anxiety. So look at the feelings that are associated with that. what, and in fact, that anxiety that I demonstrated had an in-breath with it.
So the what had an in-breath with it?
The anxiety that I demonstrated. Like,
Hmm. Yeah, sorry. So you were, well, that was just my thought from now, but you were also talking about how to keep that alive then, basically.
yes.
When you're feeling better, you're able to recognize the anxiety better.
I'm glad to see that you're listening to me rather than off someplace. That's good. Yes, exactly. That's the important point. This is the whole practice of the Buddha. This is why the first jhana was so important. That, in fact, his recognition that the path to insight was the first jhana was his deepest insight. And then he spent the rest of his time not in high jhanas, but in this first jhana, because that first jhana has the power to figure out how the mind works. And that we're talking about it in a shortcut method. The Buddha had it nailed down in great detail. But this shortcut method is being able to sit in the state of that first jhana, that sukha, that pleasure that's got that serotonin wrapped around it. And we're really in a nice state when that anxiety then manifests itself. Now we can really take a look at it. We can play with it. It's a toy. It's no longer the boss. We're the boss now. The frontal cortex is now running the show, not the anterior cortex. You see, with the frontal cortex fully online and fully fired up and watching and knowing what's going on, it's the boss. But when it hasn't got enough oxygen, when it's not strong enough, when it's turned off, when the mind is tired, then the reptilian brain starts up, takes over, and that's when the anxiety machine will get kicked into gear. And so the mind thought process will just spin and spin. Oh, I need to do this because I feel so bad. And that's the time you need sati, right then. Look at what I'm doing. Sati, wake up, see what's going on. And then so we start taking a few deep breaths. We start waking that stuff up. We look at that anxiety now, but now we're looking at it from the state of satisfaction. So that now we can look at it closely. So this is the cycle that we want to get in, and as always, the clue is sati, to remember. To remember to check on that. Don't let yourself get into that sick, tired state.
So part of that sick, tired state is the idea that I should be able to be mindful all the time.
I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't think so.
That you mean that I should be, or that it's part of the state?
I would rather you be able to wake up when you need to have sati available just at the point in time when it's most needed. And over time, it will then be there so you can be engaged in an activity. And then the anxiety comes, and then sati comes. Okay, you don't have to have sati all the time, but you want to make it available to you whenever you need it. And so that's why we begin to train it, because in the beginning, nobody's got much of it at all. So we train for sati. And the first training is whenever you recognize the mind has wandered a breath, come back to the breath. Well, now we recognize that, oh, no, everything's got this breath component into it. So coming back to the breath, now in this, let us say, a little bit more advanced way, we're actually going to start adding some heavy-duty breathing into it. Because we really do want to get that mind energized. We want to get it up to the point of tingling. Tingling alive, where your body is just vibrating with all of the oxygen that you've got. That's a good way to say, okay, now I can stop the heavy breathing.
Is there times when you would recommend the deeper breathing and the how did you call it?
I would say that we don't have a lot of need for the panting.
Okay.
The very rapid breathing. Because the same result can be had from the deeper, slower breathing, but it's still very deep. You see, the panting is still a bit shallow. We're breathing so fast that we're not filling the lungs. But we're doing it with the same intensity, but we're filling the lungs up all together, and then we're extinguishing them completely with a deep relax.
How come the panting was the first one you showed me then?
To get you understand what we're doing, to help you go with it. Some meditating teachers or meditation teachers actually refer to that as the short breath. But the point is to get yourself lightheaded, get yourself tingly.
Interesting, because lightheaded I associate with anxiety, I guess.
Well, I would say that being energized is not anxiety. It's almost like doing the very things that the body would need to do to get out of anxiety if you were in anxiety. This is almost like anti-anxiety medication meditation.
Yeah, because
but that's why we're going to let the breath go back to normal, because when the breath goes back to normal, that's when all the junk is going to get started again. The question is, are you going to be Johnny on the spot? Are you going to be there to see it? Or are you going to get overwhelmed by it?
So I do the breathing. I maybe try to see I don't want to feel anxious right now. It's not necessary.
Get yourself into a state of sukha. Get yourself into a state of winner. I can do this. Right now, I see your lips and the way that you're talking, you're still feeling confused about it. I want you to not feel confused about what you're doing. I want you to feel enthused about what you're doing, that you know exactly what you're going to be doing. I'm thinking right now about Socrates, who talked about what is learning. What is learning? Learning is not the ability to absorb. Learning is the ability to produce, to bring it back. The dog is getting a bath, an unwanted bath. Yeah, look, Poo Poo has already had one, and that's good. So anyway, starting again, we really want to make sure that we know that the sati, we're going to make a major change in the mind in the sense of what we were thinking about. We're going to stop what we were thinking about. This is the normal frame of reference. Throughout the day, all day long, every day, everyone's in a state of just kind of thinking. But sometime or another, sati is going to come up. And that sati has that quality of never mind, start again that Goenka talks about. That never mind means I don't care what I was thinking about. But I'm going to come back to the breathing. I'm going to come back to this little sequence, this dance that has the quality of, first off, we just, by having that sati, we understood what the mind was doing. It was not watching the breath. So we're actually experiencing the mind. It's already step 9 of anpanasati. Step number 9 is the first thing that happens. Step number 10 is the second thing that happens. It happens immediately. Brain gladdening in the mind. Aha, I caught you. This is also the beginning of and part of the right effort. So right sati, right effort, and we've already got right view, or you wouldn't be doing this meditation at all. So we've already got some right view. Let's get some more right view, and that is it's better to have the mind energized and woken up and fresh and having the body alert than it is to let the mind and the body be dull while sitting in meditation. Okay, so that's another quality of right view. By doing that, now we're going to add both the breathing as a component to wake the body up, to wake the brain up, to wake the mind up, and also to bring on the dopamine first and then the serotonin. The dopamine is going to be done partly with the breathing, but it's partly with, darn, I'm good at this. I'm the best meditator I've been all day. Dang it, I'm getting there. You hear that positive attitude? That's the whole thing, is let's get some positive going. It's, well, I like that. I'm doing good. This is good stuff. That's so important. That's step 6 of anpanasati. That's the rapture. Get yourself going. I like this. And that's more associated with the in breath. And then the out breath is more associated with the serotonin, which is, boy, I'm glad that's over. That was a hindrance, I could tell. And so now we're sitting in a state of relief. That's the state that you want to maintain. So you let the breathing go back to normal and you maintain that place. And that's the tree. That's the key. Can you maintain that state that's energized, fully alert, got a bit of dopamine, a bit of serotonin, and not much anxiety, which means right now, not much adrenaline, not much cortisol, not much bodily junk happening. But when you let the breathing go back to normal, guess what? The whole show goes back to its old ordinary state. And your job is to grab hold of it either before it hits bottom or just as it goes in. The sooner you can recognize it, aha, I caught you again. I caught you again. And then we start this little sequence over again. I'm gladdening the mind. I'm watching what I'm doing. I'm taking good breathing, and I'm getting myself into a good, nice feeling state. The state, which, by the way, has a whole lot to do with right attitude. The right attitude, I can do this. No matter how obstructed my mind had gotten, I can bring it out. Or in this case, we just did it right away. Look how easy it's getting now. As soon as it started to be obstructed, I caught it that time, and now I'm going. I'm in second gear already.
Yeah, exactly. I'm paying attention to my breath now, and initially I can use it as a tool with this conscious breathing. Then I can monitor that I just keep breathing, maybe not that strongly, but like how do you call that? Not abruptly or shallowly, but it flows sort of.
Mm-hmm.
And just by I can use my breath as a sort of compass, I feel, without looking far ahead,
Excellent.
moment to moment.
Excellent. Yes. Or use it as the trigger or the regulator. That's in the Anapanasati Sutta, that every step, like the development of piti, is done while breathing in and breathing out. And then sukha is developed. It is a training that needs to be developed, and we develop it while we're consciously, mindfully breathing in and breathing out. And that's in every step of anapanasati. It's not that we use it and then we lose it. No, the breathing is there with every time that we become mindful. We start adding breathing into it.
That's so funny. Like I sometimes think, oh yeah, the breathing, okay, but let's get to the steps. And I forget that every step of it, it says breathing in and breathing out.
That's an important point, to have that breathing there. Every time we become mindful, we're going to start taking a few deep breaths. We're going to get the brain oxygenated again. Whether it's been 1 minute or 10 minutes or 30 minutes or all day long or 2 weeks, it doesn't matter. The first thing we're going to do when we remember to be mindful is to take those deep breaths. And the more often we do this little thing, then the more alert the mind's going to be. all day long. And this can be done at any time, on the cushion or off the cushion. And in fact, the more often you do it throughout the day, the better. That's why I would give instructions like every time you sit down, do this. Do it really well. Get yourself into a really nice state every time you sit down. You spent so much time your whole life in being in anxiety and needing to do something. And now you can just sit and enjoy the fact that you don't have anything to do. And yes, this needs to be learned over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But it can be done. I've got a lot of students who are very successful at it. They say it changes their whole life. Wow, how marvelous the Dhamma really is. All you have to do is remember.
Yeah, I've got all these thoughts, but they're not really that important right now.
No, they're not, are they? Understand that that took me a while, but I was actually quite young when it came to me, and it came this way. Wow, I am so full of ideas. I have ideas about all kinds of software and all kinds of databases and all kinds of this, that, and the other thing, and we'll never get any of it done. The kind of ideas that I have will take 100 people to implement it, and I don't have even 100 people. Never mind 30 or 40 or 90 of them. Just today, I've had 90 good ideas. Stuff good ideas. And all they do is create anxiety. Let's stop having good ideas. That's a good idea. Yes, when you recognize that thoughts, how many bazillions of thoughts have you had already, and look what it's done you?
It's so strange to be in this space of not looking ahead and just like staying there. It's so totally different.
And yet you know that that's the teaching. That's Eckhart Tolle when he speaks, be in the present moment. Ram Dass says, be here now. The Tathagata actually gave himself that name, coming from the word tatata, which is weirdly translated as thusness or suchness.
Okay.
But that's a really dumb way to say it. I mean, Ram Dass has got a much better way of saying it. You know, this is it. Be here. Be in this present moment.
Like right now, I feel like I have a little bit more insight into why it can't be said or expressed. Well, you can sort of point to it, but then being there is just, yeah, it's not a thought, it's not a concept. It's basically where the concept stops.
Exactly. We go a little bit beyond concepts into reality just to experience it. Another way of talking about it is just merely being in the sense organs. Just let sight be sight without having to process it. Just let hearing be hearing without processing it. Just let sensations of the body be there without having to just, it's almost like, wow, it's gaga. It's just overwhelming. There's just so much happening at every instant.
Mm.
And the quality that comes along with that is that this is nice. And I'm really pleased that I can be in this state finally.
Yeah, it's very alive.
So now you tell me. Let's hear it with oomph. Okay, the mind has wandered away. What's the first thing that happens?
I notice it.
Yes, sati.
I take a deep breath. I
Okay,
say,
you can do that with gladness.
yeah,
I
like,
caught you. I caught you
okay,
wandering away.
this is nicer. I'd rather choose to stay here now. And all the other stuff that's not so important, actually. Not as important as I thought.
Yes.
I don't have to know what I do the rest of the day. I'll just take it a moment at a time.
Yeah. It's not a hard practice. It's not a hard practice at all. It's easy to do. It's easy to remember.
I can even try that with every breath.
With every breath, every time you remember.
See, am I using force to breathe, or am I just, yeah, using right effort, just little nudges somehow to relax it more?
Okay. Well, now that you've got nothing to do all day long, you can just kind of sit there and do nothing and enjoy the heck out of it. So you keep practicing like this. You go and practice and call me again, and we'll go over it again. Because we're making good progress, especially last time. We made a lot of progress last time, but we didn't record it. But today we do good too.
All right. So yeah, thank you very much again.
See you.
See you.
It's only Dhamma. That's all it is, just Dhamma.